want me to be in a video game? Shirou asked in disbelief while he was cleaning up some of the dishes in Chaldea's kitchen. Da Vinci nodded in reply. Yes. I'm going to regret asking you this, but why? Da Vinci let out a small sigh. Do you know the gaming franchise Super Smash Bros? Yes. I've heard of it. Why? Well, let's just say that Osakibeheim and Tomo were greatly inspired by that franchise and, well, wanted their own version of the game as well. Eh? By their own version of the game, do you mean they want you to make a copy of the game itself? In a way, yes. However, instead of adding characters from other video games, they wanted to add the servants from Chaldea. Shirou let out a sigh. I have a feeling that this idea will get Chaldea sued. He thought to himself. Really? Did you attempt to try to refuse their offer? At first, yes. However, to my surprise, they managed to make a petition for their game idea, and it gathered a lot of support from the other servants. Not only that, but some of the staff members wanted to see the idea work as well. Heck, I even brought over the list of supporters to show you, she said as she brought out a list from her pocket. Shirou looked at the list and was shocked at the amount of people and servants who signed up for the idea, which surprisingly included Gilgamesh, Arturia, Ishtar, Astrea, Parvati, and many others. Wow! This many servants and people actually signed up for this project. Are they really excited for a video game about themselves? And that's not it. Apparently, there's also another petition to add you in the game, and I also have that list as well. Shirou was baffled by Da Vinci's words. Huh? I'm not kidding. Look, she said as she pulled out another list from her pocket, showing the amount of people on the list, which included Arturia and her counterparts, Irisville, Astrea, Jaguarman, and various other servants that knew Shirou. Shirou's mouth dropped upon seeing the list. No way. Well? Shirou let out another sigh. Did you get permission from the director? Da Vinci let out a chuckle. Yeah, about that, she was okay with it as long as I make her a character, and it has to be really good. Shirou let out a sweat drop. You have got to be kidding me. Well, what do you think of it? Da Vinci asked, snapping Shirou out of his thoughts. Do I need to be involved in any of your experiments again? Or do I need to move around like a doll? Da Vinci chuckled again. No, I just need your permission, and that's it. Really? Yeah. I mean, I've already gathered enough data from you in the past, so I can create some sort of simulation based on your data at least. I see, well, okay. Yes. Thank you. The others will like this. Da Vinci said as she raised her fist in the air before heading off from the cafeteria. Geez, and I thought her making that mystic code based off from a Gundam was crazy. Well, at least it's not like the time where I was suddenly sent to another world that apparently exists as a video game from Master's World. Meanwhile, Da Vinci was heading back to her workshop. As she arrived, she saw Osakibeheim, Tomo, Tesla, and Edison in the room. Well? Tomo asked. Da Vinci let out a smile. Yes, we have his permission. Yes. Now that we have his permission, we can finally start on the final piece of the project. Edison said with excitement. Yeah, they all said in unison. Soon, everyone in the workshop began to work on the video game project. Osakibeheim was in charge of the game design, Da Vinci was in charge of the voice lines, Edison was in charge of the game development, Tesla was in charge of character hitboxes, and Tomo was in charge of testing the game. Still, I can't believe that we're making our own video game for the first time. I never expected to build this as an inventor. Tesla said. You can say that again. And why do I have to pair up with you? I can handle Da Vinci, but why did she include you of all people? Edison asked. Hey, that's my line. She asked for a genius. How did she choose you, you second-rate inventor? Tesla argued. Why you? And the two began to argue against each other while the other three let out a collective sigh. Geez, with these two around, this project is going to take a while to finish if they're going to argue against each other every time. Osakabeheim thought before she returned to her work. Hey Osakabeheim, how are those designs of the characters going? Da Vinci asked. They're going quite well, Da Vinci. You want to look at them? Osakabeheim replied. Da Vinci temporarily stopped her work and went over to see Osakabeheim's work. As she looked at it, she was amazed with the artwork of the characters. Great! They look good, she exclaimed with a smile on her face. Osakabeheim let out a sigh of relief. Great! Now all that's left is to put them into the 3D models. Da Vinci nodded before turning to Tomo. Hey Tomo, how's the game going out for you? It's working fine, although there are a few bugs in some of the characters, Tomo replied. Really? Tell me? Well, Archer's Gilgamesh's ultimate crashes the game sometimes. One of the stages has a broken platform where the characters don't register as a platform to stand on, so they keep falling through it. The stage rendering has some issues as some parts of the stages are missing, and there are some cases where some of the animations breaks the game as well. Da Vinci let out a sigh. Well, looks like there's some problems we need to fix. She thought to herself before turning to Tesla and Edison, who were still bickering towards each other. Hey! Tesla! Edison, she yelled at the two, grabbing their attention. Yes? Edison asked. What is it, Da Vinci? Tesla asked. Did you hear what Tomo said earlier? We have a lot of bugs and glitches to fix, so you two better shut up and start fixing them, she yelled before getting back to her work. Both Edison and Tesla let out a collective sigh. Geez, that woman can be quite scary when it comes to new projects, Edison said. For once, I agree with you on that, Tesla replied. A few days later, Da Vinci let out a sigh as she looked at the computer screen in front of her. All right. All that's left is the finishing touches. Just need to add this, then fix this, and it's now done, she thought as she was typing up the keys on her keyboard before hitting the enter key and standing up from her chair with her hands in the air. Yes. The video game project is done, she explained in happiness. Yeah, you can say that again. Tomo groaned as she looked really exhausted from all of the beta testing she did. Honestly, I feel like I just went through a marathon. Indeed. You look a lot different than before, Tomo-chan, you like you have bags under your eyes. Osakabeheim groaned. Heh. The same can be said about you. Geez, creating a video game is a lot different than providing electricity. Tesla said with a groan. Yeah. I would rather create 1,000 light bulbs than one of these video games. Edison replied in agreement. Meanwhile, Da Vinci was struggling to grab her mug as the toll of sleepless nights began to affect her. Geez, I know I should be an expert at pulling off all-nighters, but this is probably the craziest one I could ever pull off. Heck, I can't even manage to reach for my favorite coffee mug. I wish I could use some help here. And it was just at that moment, the door automatically opened, revealing Shirou, carrying a box of papers. Hey Da Vinci, Olga wanted me to remind you that, whoa, Shirou said as he looked at the state of Da Vinci and the others, and they all looked horrible. Each of them had bags under their eyes from the lack of sleep they pulled off, and they were all laying down on something. Geez, they looked like they overworked themselves to death, and were already dead. Shirou thought. Shirou, is that you? Da Vinci groaned. Yes. I'm here to drop something off from the director. Is this a bad time to drop it off? No. Perfect, there's something I want you to give. Da Vinci said as she began to drag herself back to her desk and grabbed something before shortly returning to where Shirou was. Here. Shirou looked at what Da Vinci just gave him, and was shocked upon seeing it. Da Vinci, is this? Yes. We finally finished the game. And in only a few weeks. Da Vinci replied with a sigh. Shirou looked at the game cartridge in his hands, which looked like it belonged to the Nintendo Switch system. You have got to be kidding me. Da Vinci and a few others managed to create a video game for the Nintendo Switch. Usually, making a video game would take a lot of more people and time, but she managed to do that in a short amount of time, and with only 4 people nevertheless. He thought before turning to Da Vinci. So, I guess you want me to test it out? Yeah. Considering that Tomo may be out of the count there, and after hearing about you from both Tomo and Osakabeheim, I think you're the perfect guy for the job, she grumblingly said before she placed her hands on his shoulders. Anyways, can you test it out? Well, is there something bad going to happen if I play this game? Relax, we've already tested it out so many times. Nothing bad will happens. And in an instant, Da Vinci fell asleep on the floor. Shirou let out a small sigh. Da Vinci, you clearly went a bit too overboard on this project. He then picked Da Vinci up and put her on her bed before exiting her workshop. Well, Da Vinci asked me to test the game, well, I'll give it a try. Soon, Shirou arrived at the recreation room with the Nintendo Switch, plugged the game in, and booted it up. However, when he did, the Nintendo Switch began to light up crazily and started to float in the air. Well, I should have expected this, he thought as he began to assume himself into a fighting position. However, what happened next was that the Nintendo Switch turned to Shirou and shot a scanner at him, and to his surprise, he felt like was being sucked into the Nintendo Switch. What? And in an instant, Shirou was gone. Ritsuko was walking down the hallway, minding his own business as he just came back from a singularity. Phew. After a day finishing a singularity, I could use some rest. Maybe a few minutes in the recreation room might do the trick. He then headed towards the nearby recreation room and sat down on the sofa there. As he did, he noticed the Nintendo Switch lying down on the ground, still on. Someone forgot to turn off the Nintendo Switch. He thought before picking it up from the ground. As he did, it was then he noticed the game title on the screen. Fate, Grand Order? I've never seen a video game like this, must be Da Vinci's work. Ritsuko thought with a sigh. However, it was then he heard a certain voice from the game. Hey! Master, the voice said. Ritsuko nearly jumped upon hearing the voice, but immediately recognized who the voice was. Shirou? Where are you? Right in the Nintendo Switch. Ritsuko was stunned upon hearing Shirou's answer before looking at the Switch. In the Nintendo Switch? Yeah. Or to be more precise, in the Fate, Grand Order game. You're stuck in the game? How? That's what I want to know. Anyways, all of this started when Da Vinci gave me this game. When I booted it up, the Nintendo Switch started to act funny, and it sucked me into the game itself. Ritsuko let out a sigh. Da Vinci, just what have you created? I hope that you only made one copy of the game, or else Chaldea will be faced with multiple lawsuits from Nintendo. And let me tell you, they take their lawsuits very seriously, he thought before turning his attention back to the Nintendo Switch. So, any idea how to solve this problem? Well, we could ask Da Vinci, but I think she's unable to talk right now, Shirou replied. Let me guess, she's passed out again from overwork? Yup. Figures, what can we do? Both Shirou and Ritsuko were silent for a moment as they were trying to come up with a way to fix the situation Shirou was in. What can we do in this situation? Shirou's stuck in a video game console, and this is not like that time where he was suddenly sent to the Fire Emblem universe, although I'm not sure how that's possible. Anyways, how do we deal with this? The silence continued to occur until a thought appeared in Ritsuka's mind. Shirou, I think I have an idea. What? Ritsuka grabbed the console. We'll play the game. Eh? What are you thinking, Master? How will playing the game will solve this problem? Hear me out. I've seen something like this before in the movies. When a character gets stuck in a video game, the person who's stuck in the video game must clear it in order to get out of it. Are you sure that will work though? Ritsuka let out a chuckle. Really? We just saw fictional stuff that should not exist in real life come to life before our eyes. At this point, I'm pretty sure that anything can happen. Either way, this is our only chance to find out. As you wish, Master. Soon, Ritsuka booted up the game. After a few seconds of waiting, the title screen came up which showed the title, Fate, Grand Order, with Chaldea as the background. Wow. This clearly reminds me of Super Smash Bros., he thought to himself before entering into the main menu. As he did, he chose the story mode option. Upon entering it, he saw various servants of Chaldea, appalled with the amount of work put into it. And the number of servants included in the character selection were too much for him to count. So many characters, just how many servants wanted to be a part of this video game? Never mind, we're getting off topic here. I need to find Emiya Shirou. Ah, here it is, he thought before he then clicked on Emiya Shirou. Hey Shirou, where's the case of the game? There should be an instruction manual at least, so I can figure out how to play. Shirou let out a sigh. Sorry, but Da Vinci never gave me an instruction manual or a case of the game. Figures, well, guess we'll have to figure it out in the process then. Soon, Ritsuka clicked on Emiya Shirou, and the game soon began. With Emiya Shirou in the digital world. Shirou opened his eyes as he looked at the area around him, which looked like a forest. Well, looks like I've been teleported here. I wonder what happens here. In an instant, two more people appeared right in front of him, and they were Lancer Cu and Rider Medusa, who seemed to be carrying their weapons. In an instant, both characters came at Shirou, forcing him to dodge. Master, permission to engage them? He asked. Permission granted. And don't worry, they're CPUs. Soon, Shirou unsheathed his Muramasa blade and began to rush at them. As he did, he swung at them, knocking them down before they quickly recovered and came towards him again. As they did, the Lancer Cu CPU jumped and swung his spear downwards, forcing Shirou to dodge. However, it was then the Rider Medusa CPU used one of her chain daggers and grabbed him by the arm, pulling him towards her and kicking him towards the other side of the stage. Man, even though they're just CPUs, they fight like the real deal, but I won't give up. Shirou then went towards the pair and projected Myojinjiri Muramasa, version Konsho and Bakuya and hit both at the same time, knocking them into the sky. Afterwards, he then projected a bow along with fronting and shot it at the Lancer Cu and Rider Medusa CPUs, making him hurl further into the sky. And to Shirou's surprise, he heard a voice along with the disappearance of the CPUs as they were flung into the sky and disappeared in a blast of air. Game, the announcer said. The stage around him went black for a moment. Master, what's going on? Since you completed the stage, it's transitioning to a new one, Ritsuka replied. I see. Will the next stage be something like the one before? Maybe. Let's find out and see. For a moment, Shirou did nothing as Ritsuka was looking at the Nintendo Switch screen in front of him. After a few seconds, the area around him changed. Alright, what's going to happen next? Maybe it's going to be like what happened before. However, instead of a battle, what appeared in front of him were multiple platforms and a bunch of coins. Master, what is this? Ritsuka immediately realized what kind of stage Shirou landed himself into. This stage is a race to the end. The coins are bonuses. And be careful of what's behind you. Shirou turned around to see what Ritsuka meant by the last part, and saw a bunch of water demons coming towards him at alarming speed. Oh shit! After going through many levels involving fighting and picking up random objects, Shirou and Ritsuka finally reached the last stage of Shirou's story quest. Man, this is quite exhausting, although every stage I went through feels like I just revisited the Holy Grail War all over again. First was the Lancer CU and Rider Medusa CPUs on the first stage, then the Hercules CPU, and finally, the Castor Medea CPU. I wouldn't be surprised if the last stage has the King of Heroes as the enemy. Hey Shirou, are you going to be alright over there? Ritsuka asked. Yeah, I'm going to be fine. Anyways, do you have any idea who the last enemy on the game is? Shirou replied. I don't know. There's just a question mark. Guess you're going to figure it out on your own. Figures. He thought with a sigh. Well, let's find out and see. Soon, the area around Shirou turned into a war-torn battleground, and appeared in front of him was Archer Gilgamesh, who was laughing. Guess I was right. However, to his surprise, a sudden red blade appeared from behind, stabbing the Archer Gilgamesh CPU in the chest from the back. The Archer Gilgamesh CPU yelled in agony before disappearing in gold particles. It was then Shirou noticed a black shadow from where the Archer Gilgamesh CPU was before it revealed itself. Asa Kim Dowan, the immortal alien god Shirou, fought a long time ago. Both Shirou's and Ritsuka's mouths dropped upon seeing the enemy. You have got to be kidding me, they yelled in unison. However, their reaction was short-lived as the Asa Kim CPU began to unleash tragic genocider at Shirou, forcing him to dodge. However, it was then the Asa Kim CPU rushed at him with his blade in his hand. Shirou then unsheathed his Muramasa blade and guarded from his strike. Shirou then kicked the Asa Kim CPU back before projecting Myojinjiri Muramasa, version Kansho and Bakuya and slashed him. However, that did not have any effect as the CPU brushed it off. Raster Edge. In an instant, the Asa Kim CPU released a green beam from his free hand and shot it at Shirou. However, Shirou saw that coming and jumped before projecting his bow and fronting. Go into the red plains, fronting. Shirou then shot fronting at the Asa Kim CPU, dealing damage to it. However, he shrugged it off like before and came back for him again. Rumbling Discalibur. TCH. He's shrugging off my attacks like they were nothing. Shirou thought as he dodged Rumbling Discalibur. Da Vinci seriously made quite a CPU. It's like that day all over again. Shirou. The Asa Kim Dowan you're seeing right now is a boss character. That means it will take a lot of hits to beat him and escape. This is nothing like the others you fought before. Ritsuka said. I can see that. If he's a boss character, then how much health does he have left? Shirou replied as he dodged another Rumbling Discalibur. Well, you only took out a tiny portion of it. Don't worry. I'll tell you when his health is really low. Figures, so that means I have to keep hitting him, huh? That's easier said than done. Soon, the battle between Shirou and the Asa Kim CPU carried on, each unleashing their moves against one another. As it did, Shirou was dealing damage to the Asa Kim CPU over time. However, the same can be said about the Asa Kim CPU as it was also dealing damage to him at the same time. Meanwhile, Ritsuka was watching the entire fight and was getting worried from what was going on. Right now, Emiya Shirou was at high-risk damage and the Asakim CPU's health bar was very low. This is one close match, the stakes are high here. I hope you can beat him, Shirou. Back in the Nintendo Switch, Shirou was getting exhausted from all the damage he had taken from all the hits he received. Geez, this has taken a while, and I feel exhausted already. My body can't take any more of this, I need to finish this now. I'll gamble on this strike. In an instant, Shirou lunged towards the Asakim CPU, while the CPU did the same thing as well. As it did, both of them hit each other at the same time. However, Shirou hit first. And that hit dealt enough damage to the Asakim CPU's remaining health. Shirou dropped onto the stage while the Asakim CPU began to blow up in a blast of energy. However, Shirou was not harmed from the blast. Phew. That was close. He thought. Wow. That was too close. Ritsuka said with a sigh. My thoughts exactly, Master, Shirou replied. So, what happens next? Well, by now, you should probably return to the real world, right? In an instant, the Nintendo Switch began to light up again and something came out from the screen, revealing it to be Shirou. Now, Ritsuka finished. Shirou was panting as he was exhausted from what he just went through. Wow, never thought I would end up in a video game, and literally, he said while breathing heavily at the same time. You can say that again. Speaking of which. Yeah. We're going to tell Da Vinci about this. And thus, Shirou and Ritsuka told Da Vinci about what just happened, and the game had to be delayed.